Thank you for coming. I'm so glad you're here. I really love your poetry. It's like sort of my
Thanks.
favorite thing when poets have like a lot of trying to think of how to say this because like the word that comes to mind is like it's like a focus on like mundane moments, but it's not mundane. It's casual like
Yeah.
life moments that are not sunsets and flowers
The
and
word I
birds.
used to use in my terrible like applications to fellowships and things was quotidian.
Like that. Quotidian. That's nice.
My name is Max McDonough. I grew up on the Jersey Shore. The book of poems that's coming out is called Python with the Dog Inside It. Spoiler alert, my mom is both the python and the dog inside it. And it's a bunch of little stories, lyric poems that sort of have a narrative bent about siblings sort of moving through a very difficult New Jersey rural childhood and then coming out on the other side of that and bumping into real life, the world. I tried to do that arc justice, and that's what the book's about. I'm the oldest of seven. Both my parents were casino workers, like career servers. I somehow landed at UVA for college. I like put myself through college there, which was the best thing I ever did. And then it's led to me having a million jobs I didn't think I would have, like an Amazon warehouse worker and an Uber driver and all sorts of things. What am I trying to say? I'm a utility player. That's what I'm saying.
I read poetry books start to finish. And so I was really glad to do that with yours because it does seem like there's like a narrative arc through the whole thing. So it's almost like reading like a memoir and poems ish, you know, and of course you like there's the whole thing of like how much is real life or whatever. I really like how it starts with this very clear image and moves through like imagistically, like through a life. How long did it take you to write this?
The very first poem in the book is when the speaker's mother is being arrested in their driveway. So something has happened, and now the police are in the driveway, and the mom's being like dragged off. It's not clean, right? And the kids are in a upstairs bedroom, like looking down at it. I wrote that poem when I was, I think, 18.
Wow.
It was like the second half of the first year of undergrad. I'm really glad it stuck around, but that gives, anyway, I'm trying to say this book has taken forever to write. I wish it had been written sooner. And let's say for, like 8 years maybe. And then like, you tinker, you're tinkering and tinkering and you're making it worse actually. So you have to stop.
Yeah.
It's two different things. It's like writing it took forever, but I think the time, the space between different phases of writing that book were important for like the psychological and sort of the clarity, I guess, you hope to come to when you're trying to create one book. There's something has to come across in a clear way and there has to be growth or whatever. So there's that. And then there's the whole publishing game, which is a totally different, and it's administrative and it's totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a totally different job. How many places did you send it before you got a yes?
Oh, maybe 40. I mean, so many. I don't know if it's harder or less hard, but like there isn't a lot of money in poetry. And so the way to get a book published is usually through a contest, especially for your first book. So that is kind of demoralizing because you're just sending this PDF out to so many places and just like crossing your fingers, and then you get some good news, but it's not final, the whole thing, as compared to a memoir or something where it's a little bit more commercial, which has, I'm sure, different challenges.
Yeah, well, it ended up in a really good press.
Yeah. I worked so hard.
You spent so much money as a poet, I think, sending out.
Like driving that Uber so hard to send my book off.
But it ended up at one of the best independent, I guess.
I lucked out, man, right?
Yeah.
They have been so great. I'm so thrilled with the whole experience with Black Lauren. I would recommend submitting. I don't know.
They do seem really like lovely. I've talked to a couple of people who've been published by them, and they just seem like they like work pretty closely with you to do the cover and all that stuff. Your cover's really beautiful. I love the cover art.
I've been surprised at like how supportive they've been, but then also how much agency I've had, which I didn't think those two things went together. I sort of like thought either they're going to drive the car or it's all going to be on me, and it's been this wonderful combination.
So in your actual book, there is this word, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, that repeats over and over.
This one.
Yeah. Would you like to pronounce it for me?
Incunabula. Who knows? I could be wrong too.
In the title of the first poem, and then like maybe two poems later, you kind of define it. And what I really liked about that is I was reading it and I was like, I got to look up that word. And then like you gave me a definition. You taught me how to read the rest of the book. I really liked that. And I sort of wonder about that word in the book, and if you have anything to say about using that over and over.
So incunabula, let's see. It's complicated. It's a very old word. It sort of means like origin texts or like old pieces of manuscripts. But it also literally means cocoon or it has like maternal origins as well. So things that have fabric that wrap you up that are maternal. So cocoon. It also overlaps with in the poem that you're talking about. It's winding sheet, which is like the death shroud. So it's like birth and death, old manuscripts, things that are essential and their origins. And I thought this is a really weird word that I'll connect to New Jersey in a minute, but that I think I can think about this mother story through this lens, which is you can't excise the mom. The mom is a fact. You have a mom. You have to have had a mom. That's like a requirement. And in my case, this was a woman who like complicated things a lot and was sort of like the place of origin, but also like the coffin. And then I was doing this reading. I don't know what came up. I had so much free time in grad school. And I was reading a book about the Pine Barrens. I grew up on the very edge of the Pine Barrens in New Jersey. Not a lot of people know about it. It's this vast forest with a lot of colonial mythology, Jersey Devil. People go missing. There are all these dead towns in there. It's a really cool place to learn about. And one of the myths is that there is a colony of time-traveling scientists in this dead town called Ong's Hat because there's a hat in a tree somewhere because the devil made a deal with someone. And
So wild. I love this.
they had incunabuli. Like, that's where the word came from. They were spreading their, like, science myth. Here's how you get to another dimension through incunabula. The time machine, allegedly, that this ashram of scientists from the University of Texas, Austin, used to go to another dimension was called the egg, which is also, like, related to incunabula being cocoon. And so I thought, I just have to play with this. I don't even have to do that much. I just have to sort of dramatize it, maybe.
Wow.
What people don't know about South Jersey is like you may as well be in Appalachia or any other really rural place because, yeah, Philly is an hour and a half away or New York is like 2 hours away. You're in the middle of nowhere and there's a lot of hunting, a lot of fishing, and a lot of weird money, too, trickles down in a strange way. That's where the book takes place, I guess, is like this weird part of New Jersey.
I think the specificity matters. There's the one poem, the poem about fishing. I think that the landscape is so, I guess, unique. I don't think I've ever read anything about rural Jersey. There's a lot of images of things going wrong, I guess, in families or in nature or whatever. I like look for patterns, and I noticed that, and it's not in every poem, but I noticed that there is often a pattern of some like very casual moment. Sometimes it's not that casual. Like the mother being arrested or whatever is not that casual. But it's, I think for people who grew up anywhere but upper middle class somewhere, it's not that unusual. Somebody's mom's in the back of a police car.
There's always that house with like the police lights at it.
But I noticed that there's, sort of like just a really like nice description of these moments. And in the dog shark, it happens too. And then like at the end, there's just this whack of meaning. And it's so profound and unexpected. It's not what you would like think is going to come from the moment of something going wrong. And I wonder if you have anything to say about that.
Okay, so the poem is about kid with uncle. There's this dog shark that you're not allowed to keep, but it keeps biting, and then we reel it in, and then the uncle's getting frustrated, and he's like, I'm just going to smash this fish's head open with a baseball bat. Are you talking about the next part of the poem? Okay, I did this thing that I almost took it out of the book. I kept thinking of a similar experience to this that I had as a kid, and the poem is different than memoir, right? So I get that, but I thought there's something here where you're with someone you're supposed to be able to trust, a family member, and then they do something so violent and it's hard to square. And then you have to imagine, okay, in this case, the speaker isn't an adult yet. When I'm an adult, very similar to this person who I'm related to, right? Like we literally have our DNA patterns in common. Am I going to be capable or out of control enough to behave like that? And so there's this deep fear that I had been working through personally, but also with this poem. I hate dreams and poems, but I put it in a dream frame where you take what just happened in the previous section of the poem, this horrible baseball bat thing with the fish. And then I was like, what if I'm everyone? Like in dream logic, what if I'm everyone in this scene? What if I'm the person who's swinging the bat? What if I'm the fish? What if I'm also the witness? What can I say?
This is probably an annoying question, but why write about this stuff in poetry and not prose?
I think it's just like it cuts to the chase. You know what I mean? Why write a poem? Because you're going to die. And why not? I think about some of the Poles during World War II being marched eastward and like writing poems on pieces of paper that they're like burying in the snow. Why are they doing that? it's the impulse. It's the life impulse, right? And so I really relate to that sort of like, this is for survival in some strange way that's not quite literal. And that's why. Also, I love music. I mean, I can't sing. I think I would give up any talent I have for writing to be a singer if I could. But you can create spells with language. You can do it in a paragraph, sure. But really, the way to do that is in a poem.
I always ask people, like, how do you write a poem? I only write poems when they appear in my brain.
I was watching a Hot Wings episode with Lady Gaga yesterday, which I think is somewhat new. The host asked, "How do you write a song?" And she's like, "I sit down and I listen." Like, yeah, like that's how that works. Like sometimes, you're revising, you're needling, you're doing the labor or whatever. But like really what you do, you sit down and you sort of like listen, which sounds really hokey. And I'm so sorry that it's probably like very unintellectual,
No.
but it's more, yeah, it's like you come in with a couple of things and then something comes in. The title poem came in like 30 seconds. It was very strange. I sat down and there it was. And I was like, okay, I guess I have this poem now.
That's awesome.
It's weird and fun. I'm like, there's a dog and a python, and I can like dramatize this, and what fun.
Really, I like all of your poems. I really also like the pacing of the book. Like if you read it start to finish. I don't know how people read poetry books. I read them like books.
I know people that won't read the book based on this. They open it to a random page and they read a poem, and if they don't like that poem, they're out.
Like we have no attention span anymore, and definitely people who sell books seem to have no attention span.
That's sort of what I was saying earlier about like writing that considers a reader is so important. This is a person who's stressed and is picking up this book, and the first 3 pages need to serve them, give them the good stuff.
Yeah.
You try to invite someone into a dramatic situation for them. It's not for you, right? For the writer. And so it's like, how do I get rid of any of that woe is me tone, or which can crop up because we all have these tragic lives that are very sad and you want to cry about it. But it's like, are you crying about it in public to random strangers? I was like, no. What's this poem or this interaction bringing to the table?
Of course, the mom is really a big figure in the book, and I can relate to that. I wrote about my dad almost exclusively until very recently because my dad was awesome. And I wrote about my mom for The Cut recently, and so now I'm the person with the bad mom.
I relate to that so much.
Yeah, I bet. So I'm thinking a lot about writing difficult mothers, and I'm also a mother myself, and I've always been like very conflicted because I want to say there's like no such thing as a bad mom. I wonder if you have anything to say about which parent you centered, because I read your acknowledgments.
My poor dad. Yeah, that word centered is so evocative. My dad is in some of the poems, but for a lot of what went on in my house, and again, poetry is not memoir. My mom is very upset about it. She does think it's memoir, and she's messaging me about these poems. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's not slander or libel or whatever. It's not memoir. She's in there so much more than he is. But I think that's partly because what went on in my house that is dramatized as honestly as I could, I guess, in some of this book is my dad was working a lot and he wasn't around. And so there's a lot that was allowed to sort of happen unsupervised, or no one could hold a mirror up to it. Functionally, he's gone because that's true. Like all this stuff is happening. This man is working a ton. It's not that my mom didn't work either, but whenever something bad happened, it's like dad was at work. I tried to reel him in a little bit in the end because I just love this man so much, and he has like shouldered so much grief over the years. I don't know how he has survived. So there's one little ode to his like hearing aid that he got where it connects to his phone, and so when I call him, it's like in his ear. It's just so funny to me, and I don't know if he's there elsewise because I sort of pivot. I try to bring in like a little bit of a love story or a love arc where it's like, oh, there's love out there outside of a household like this one that's can be trusted, and you can lean into that. And it's not uncomplicated, but it's real,